Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Shero Live. I'm Beth Shero, the CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. We have a very exciting topic today. We're going to be talking about CRO. I know throughout the year, this year, we've spoken a lot about AI and discovery and how to get people to your website. But now what do you do when they get there? So this was like a really hot topic for us throughout the Q1 and now wrapping up Q2. A lot of people are asking about CRO, and I think the world we live in, ecom changes every day. So we wanted to bring in some fresh thoughts around what we're learning this year around CRO, how AI is impacting that, and also a great partner that we have visually that's got their own platform and a lot of new advancements around CRO and A/B testing. So we'll have a special guest to kind of dive in there. So lots of great information we'll be talking about, and we will be joined by Cande from our team and Marc from Visually. So let's bring in Cande so she can introduce herself for anybody that's new to our live and that hasn't met Cande. Cande has been leading our digital marketing team for quite some time now. Welcome, Cande.
Thank you, Beth. Happy Thursday, Friday Eve. My name is Cande. I'm the Executive Director of Marketing here. So my team and I, we oversee all of our digital marketing services, and obviously CRO being one of the most popular ones, right? Everybody wants their conversion rate up. Everybody needs to make sure that they can make the most out of every client. And so, that's it, basically.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Cande. Can't wait to hear your insights. And let's welcome Marc from Visually.
Thank you, Beth.
Hey, Marc, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us and having me on this.
Of course.
VP of Growth here at Visually, 22 years in e-commerce and helping folks sell more stuff online, and we certainly will jump into that more.
Amazing. And I heard about Visually, I think it was over 2 years ago when I met Anna at NRF. I was with Paul Rogers, and he was like, you have to meet her. And then I was like, whoa, you guys got something going on here.
And we're off to the races too, which I'm sure we'll get into. But agentic AI is changing e-commerce, and it's certainly changing the day-to-day for our brands as well.
Absolutely. And just for everybody that's, new here or hasn't heard about Visually, do you want to just give like a high level what Visually is, what you offer, and how you stand apart?
Absolutely. So Visually is a native Shopify CRO platform in which we help brands really graduate. Most brands, if they are doing A/B testing, are doing about 2 to 3 tests per month. In our world or our worldview, that's kind of just doing occasional A/B testing. And help them graduate to really doing enterprise grade CRO, which includes high velocity testing, which we might talk about a little bit more today. Site segmentation, which is really central to this long-term strategies for CRO and personalization as well. So happy to, I'm excited to jump into all of that as we continue to chat.
Amazing. And as we were preparing for this, one of the stats that you have at Visually is that only 74% of Shopify merchants have an A/B testing tool, which I was kind of surprised by that number. So it really kind of leans on what you're just saying, that a lot of people maybe are dabbling but not really embracing it completely, and there's like a lot of lost opportunity there, right?
Absolutely. And we see the same kind of root cause behind why such a large percentage of merchants aren't doing testing. And then the ones that are doing testing are doing between 2 to 3 tests per month. And that is because of the perception that it's going to take additional dev resources to push it. And every brand has already a shortage of the amount of hours for dev resources. So I think that has been our main mission from kind of day one, realizing that that's like the root cause of brands just not doing enough testing and trying to bring that dev dependency down to almost zero.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, the other challenge that we've seen throughout the years is just like having someone to focus on it. And Cande will probably kind of talk about some of the things she's seeing. But I don't want to steal her thunder. So we'll kind of move on from there. I have some interesting kind of facts that I just kind of wanted to share to tee up this whole conversation. But before we move on, Marc, anything else you want to share about Visually?
There's the last little thing I'll pepper in is what our brands come to us and say, Marc, you need to make sure that you mention this more. We, with both our brands and our agency partners helping our brands, we have allowed a kind of a new way of launching new products and features into their experience and their site. So like we're allowing brands to bring ideas to market, complex ideas to market, some which we'll go over today, in a single day.
Wow.
I've been in e-commerce for 22 years. That is a new thing, to take a complex concept and instead of going through a long, sprint cycles and everything like that, to really be able to launch that same day is transformative to a learning environment and really creating that learning environment for the brands. So again, we're just teasing it, so we'll be able to jump in later.
Yeah, definitely, because I think the experience and experimentation culture is evolving a lot. Like we feel it everywhere, even with AI in general. Like how many things can we test and play around with? And like this is like a great opportunity to use tools to foster that. But like, and I think we're going to talk about it a little later, but like, how do people feel safe that they can go ahead and do that? And you are giving them the tools to do that, right? So yay, Visually. Good job. Okay, so like just to kind of summarize, like I think everyone in ecom kind of knows the name of the game where we're at, but like, traffic is harder to come by. It's getting more expensive. Ad spend is going up. Cost per click is increasing. Most people, and I know for myself included, I hate to say this, but when I see a Google AI summary, most of the time I'm not really going past that point. So like, I think even SEO becomes, challenging in different ways, but we're learning new ways to kind of mitigate those issues to show up in those AI rankings. So, a lot of brands are facing these challenges. You're not alone if you are feeling that pain. And there's been tremendous improvement around the conversion rate of when someone uses an LLM to your site and then they convert. Like a year ago, people were like using it and dabbling, but they weren't really converting at the same level they are now. Now the statistics say and show that people are using it to convert, but they don't feel quite ready or comfortable yet to autonomously allow AI to purchase for them. Rightfully so. I feel that as well. I don't know if I'd want someone going out on my behalf yet, but we're chipping away there. Like people are building more confidence here. And it's just really interesting to see how quickly things are shifting.
Yeah.
So I think, just the customer's higher expectations. When AI recommends your product, they're going there and they're purchasing because they've done a little bit of work. They're trusting the AI and they're purchasing. But this is, again, why I said up front, they're getting there. And then how do you make it even less frictionless? And we're talking about CRO. So I'm just teeing up Cande here to talk about what she's seeing with our clients.
Yeah. What I see, I think, is like, it's funny because when you said that 75% of people or Shopify merchants do not have any CRO kind of like platform, to me, that's not a shocker at all because I see myself convincing people every week why they need to be doing CRO. Like you, Marc, I come from like the very beginnings of e-commerce where PPC was cheap. There were no restrictions. We were targeting everybody on Meta and Google like crazy. And to your point now, Beth, that scenario has like deeply changed. So they know that there's the need, but it's very hard to convert, talking about conversion, clients into understanding why CRO, investing in CRO is a priority. I think people come to us and my team and me, and they're like, I know that 1% is not good. Right? Because maybe now Shopify is selling them with their AI tools. If they start asking questions, they can Google it, right? Like, is this an okay conversion rate? And Google is going to be like, no, you definitely should not be 1%, right? But but very few kind of like it is an education process, right? We need to educate them on the why. We need to educate them on the time that it takes, right? Some tests like run for longer time than others, etc., and why having a decent roadmap to understand what lever is actually moving the needle. That's the hardest conversation, right? To me, that's as hard as understand why SEO, like explain why SEO is important. But yeah, that's
Yep.
what we
The
right?
silent killers.
And now everybody's talking about them, right? Like
Yeah.
when PPC was cheap, when PPC everybody could do PPC, and it was like you can invest very little and get a very high ROAS. Like this was in our conversations, and I think like SEO, CRO is coming back to the table, right? And everybody wants to do it, but everybody's also skeptical on investing the time that it takes, doing it in phases, etc. So in order kind of like from an agency perspective, from my team perspective, that's the thing that we struggle the most, right? And getting a CRO audit is a very easy thing to sell, right? In the sense of like, I'm going to run an audit. This is what an audit does. We're going to go through your data. A lot of merchants don't have time to sit down and look at their data, or they don't have the know-how on how to kind of like pull all of those things together and interpret it. So we offer them that. And for them, that is already like a huge win, right? But when it comes to presenting the roadmap, and you're like, this is test number one, this is the KPI, and they're like, wait a minute, why can't we just not fully redesign the PDP and let's just get all of these things like done at once, one investment, etc. And that's when the conversation, that's when the dance starts, right? I don't know what you think, Mark. Do you see that on your guys' end as well?
Yeah, Candy. This is the daily conversation that we're
Right.
having.
There you go.
Okay, so we're not alone.
Absolutely. And a lot of it is changing a mindset, right? So in the end of the day, and I think a lot of what we might talk about today is the difference between big swings and incrementality. Brands that are succeeding long term within CRO, they have a roadmap that's really focused on incrementality, small tweaks consistently, and then layering on big swings. But again, previous to my life in CRO, I was in the like rebuild, redesign space for 10 years, launching hundreds of sites and being part of that, knowing that the majority of brands think of this big swing, which is kind of like going to Vegas and saying all in, and then wondering why the results don't happen. So it's a behavior. It's first kind of calling. I literally used that in my conversation. I said,
that's a great metaphor.
You are trained. Yeah, you are trained your whole career. And I've been there, been part of it. Like, I get it, but you're going all in on this big swing, and then you're wondering why the lift didn't happen like you thought it would. And we're used to that. We have no problem spending money that way. But then again, teasing it out and really trying to understand what micro factors are pushing things up and pushing things down, and taking the time, that leads to better long-term growth. But again, it's a change of mindset, and sometimes humorous metaphors are necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, it's perfect, Mark. And I would add, like, I think, and Candy, you can agree or disagree, but like a lot of people want a silver bullet. They want one thing to solve it all. And it doesn't work like that. And also the behaviors are changing every day now. So it's like, this is even more important, right?
Yes. You call it silver bullet. I said, when I usually start an audit presentation, either myself or Amara from my team, sometimes we queue up the presentations like there's no like golden egg here. We're going to go through many bullet points of a lot of things that we have unpacked, from your homepage to your checkout. Let's get started. Because I think you nailed it, Beth, and I actually agree. I fully agree. They're looking for a silver bullet. They're looking for one big thing to hit, and all of a sudden their CRO is going to go from, their conversion is going to go from 1 to 5%, which is unrealistic. And yes, those are the back and forth and the education portion and the change of mindset, 100%.
Okay, well, we're all here in the same safe space. We can tackle it, and we're talking about it, and just, there's a lot of great brands out there that get it, and that's the positive. And it's just a matter of getting everyone aligned on, like, it's not as easy as you think, and e-commerce is really hard. Like, I've seen people come into e-com and they're like, oh, I'm just going to make millions of dollars. And then the reality hits of like how much effort it actually takes. So like, yeah, connecting those dots for sure.
I think one of the things that I love to do, and I think because merchants, they all come from different backgrounds, right? Not
Yes.
everybody was born in the e-commerce world, even though maybe they're now running an e-commerce brand, right? So sometimes I bring it back to physical stores and I say, okay, I don't usually shop at Macy's, but if you go to a Macy's, one day does not look like a week after. They move things around, and there's a logic to that. To me,
Mhm.
CRO is the same thing. Your online store should never look the same. You should be testing, you should be moving. Things are placed at Macy's in the checkout line like perfumes, then these other things and these other things for you to kind of like grab those as you go to the cashier and you pay, right? So, and that's when sometimes merchants get it because again, right, you need to understand who
Yes.
you're talking to, right? I
Yeah.
love the CEOs, VPs of marketing, whatever. I was on that side as well that I talked to. They might not, again, they might have not like started their careers in e-commerce, right? So I like to put it that way. Macy's maybe is not the greatest example,
And I literally
but
use
Costco, whatever, you know what I
I
mean?
think we can all can understand that though.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mark.
yeah, no, I literally use the same kind of line specifically when talking about merchandising.
right.
We enable visually enables non-technical folks to take complete control of all of their merchandising, cross-sells, upsells,
Mhm.
recommendations, and etc., taking dev out of the mix. And usually brands have things, even with an AI algorithm, still in a set it and forget it mentality. And I just say that's not a real retail principle,
No.
right? So
Yeah.
we have like over maybe 200 years of brick and mortar retail knowledge about like what is the end cap and what like how do we change, like these are just common basics when it comes to brick and mortar. Yet in e-commerce, even brands over 100 million in the Shopify ecosystem per year are still in this set it and forget it. We'll just let an AI algorithm just run and do its thing. And yeah, so I use the same kind of line of thinking of being like, let's just apply a base retail principle here.
Yeah. I mean, just think about the millions of dollars brands spend on like changing their storefront for the season, right?
Yeah, just to bring in,
That is a valid point.
yeah, no, we've seen tremendous results. So Laura Geller, one of our brands, they use us exclusively for all recommendations throughout the site. And in switching over, they brought their program from a kind of set it and forget it state into an actively optimized program. And they were able to provide a lift of 103%. And so for that size of brand, just through that, not through everything else they're doing high velocity testing, about 40 tests per month. Besides all of that, just in merchandising and recommendations.
Nice.
That's crazy. That's incredible.
Very cool. Mark, when we started talking about this, you said there were like 3 key things that you think, if you're new or already are doing CRO that you should keep in mind. You mentioned it up front, like the first one being the testing velocity. Do you want to go over those at all? Or you want me to?
Thank you,
Okay.
Beth. And again, this is like we have this mindset conversation. So Cande, similar to a lot of what you've been mentioning, a lot of this is about changing that mindset. So the first thing that, our first kind of brand promise at Visually is that we get a brand into a jet stream to do real CRO. And that has everything to do with testing velocity. So we've talked to over 4,000 brands. If they are doing testing, we ask, how many tests are you doing per month? And 99% of the time, it's 2 to 3 tests per month. 2 to 3 tests. And now the average successful program is going to have a 30% win rate. Now, you learn from the losses, and that is great. And that learning compounds, and there's lots of gains from all of that. But if there's an executive direction in the company to do CRO, it usually means we want to do enough testing and optimization to continually lift the core metrics of the business.
Yeah, because otherwise they're not going to be happy.
It's like, back to the betting world in Vegas. The odds against them, if they're doing 2 to 3 tests per month, it's going to be very hard for them to lift the core metrics of the business. So the first thing that we do, and again, through our no-code AI-powered visual editor, we allow brands and their agencies helping them to get into a swim lane of 6 to 20 tests per month, right? To at least have a chance to do enough testing and optimization to move the core metrics of the business in a measurable, repeatable way. So that's kind of number one. Number two that I think mentioned a little bit, site segmentation. And so site segmentation is key in a mature testing program. You might have a hypothesis that will perform wildly different for a new visitor versus a loyal customer.
Right.
So from businesses that are heavy subscription, a subscriber versus a non-subscriber, right? So segmentation is key in a mature testing program, but really what we allow our brands and agency partners to do is take a giant step back from just thinking about one global information architecture and site experience to the ability to say, what should the new visitor experience? How does that change from a loyal customer experience? What should be the experience coming in through specific acquisition or retention channels when you look at the subscriber experience versus the non-subscriber experience? So just going from that like one-dimensional, like one global experience to please all use cases for all users to be able to have that flexibility. And we've seen actually sometimes even more revenue and conversion growth from long-term strategies with segmentation. You tweak your way towards that through the testing, but then again, just by having that site, most brands are not doing site segmentation. We talk even to our largest brands, and they are not doing site segmentation. Again, 22 years in e-commerce, it's odd because for me, in the Salesforce, Commerce Cloud, Magento world, like the previous generation when big tech teams and way more investments, this was being done.
Right, yeah.
And now it's kind of being rediscovered. So site segmentation, number two. And then personalized merchandising. So again, it's one of those things like recommendations just sounds like, are you really talking to me about recommendations, Mark? Like, are we? It's just like every platform, almost like regardless of what the third party does, they also offer recommendations, right?
That is true.
Right, I get it, right? But in the end of the day, it's more about the questions that we ask brands, and we just say, is this a set it and forget it channel for you, or is this something that you're continually optimizing? And literally, to Candy's, talking point, we go through the basic retail principles. We explain what our brands are doing and making sure it's an active channel, and that the real secret there is not like there's total parity, in my opinion, when it comes to AI algorithm. We have an AI algorithm that recommends, everyone else does, but it's the lever is really the ease of use of testing and segmenting. Different types of basic merchandising logic to different cohorts and the ability to fine tune that through testing. So these are kind of those three pillars, like I call them like the growth levers for Visually, where brands can expect a boost in performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's brilliant. And like on Shopify, to your point, like the segmentation is not easily achieved. I think that's also like been one of the blockers of why people aren't doing it, but people are asking for that. So like, it's amazing that you guys are offering that. And with the combination of like that personalization to recommend those products as you go. And like, some of our B2B customers are asking about this. So it's not just B2C, like thinking about the different industries and how people purchase, it becomes even more critical to have that segmentation.
I would say B2B is even more so because
right? Yeah.
It's so hard. And from a PPC perspective, also B2B is very hard. So once you bring that person in, the site should be absolutely optimal for conversion because PPC costs are way more expensive. I do have a question for you, Mark. On these different brands and merchants that you guys work with, and you see that they understand it, they get it, they have 30 plus tests running a month, segmentation. Do you see a pattern in their internal team kind of like setup? Are there similarities between these brands and merchants on like either their marketing team or e-com team that you're like, oh, I see this, like they're set up clearly. Like, do you see that?
That's a great question, Candy. So yeah, in almost any other tool when it comes to A/B testing, CRO, there's dev dependency. Because that dev dependency, the role, responsibility, and remit consolidates to a very small group usually, because it has to go through that dev and design control over that. I hate using things like in software, like we've democratized, but like literally.
Well, they got to keep a job, but no, continue.
AI democrat. I'm like, oh my god, am I saying these things actually? But Visually is made for the e-commerce generalist.
There we
So
go.
what that means is like it's not just about the CRO specialist. It's not just about the product manager. For the brands that really get it, Candy, to your point, like a light goes off and it says, oh, okay, so our merchandisers should be doing this, and because we allow our brand to move from just thinking about a landing page strategy to a full funnel promotion strategy per ad, per email campaign, etc. Then the marketing team can say, oh, we also have control over the post-click experience without getting involved and having to deal with any breaking changes on the site. So it really, we just see that democratized kind of decentralized usage a little bit more for the brands that really get it. They've been able to prove it kind of centrally. There's adoption well beyond just a CRO person.
Yeah. Super interesting. I think that's where my brain was like going. I feel like throughout the years, I don't know if you agree or not, but you kind of said it. I think it started as a development thing, but now it lives under a marketing team, sorta, or kind of, because you're talking about persona segmentation, understand your client fully, what will drive them and not to increase AOV or increase. So yeah, I think that it has conversion rate optimization throughout the years has also been kind of like pushed around to different teams. And now that we have tools like Visually, yeah, I think it's just like we don't need a dev anymore, right? There could be a generalist out there, maybe sitting under marketing or somewhere else, that can really run these and own it. Because at the end of the day, on the merchant and the brand side, right, somebody owns conversion rate as a KPI, right? And on their plate. So I wanted to, just understand if you saw any patterns.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off of what you're saying there, Mark, you were talking about like the enterprise grade CRO. So you're saying like it's a generalist. Even though you're calling it enterprise, it doesn't mean they have to be an enterprise company, right? Like any size company can do this. From my takeaway is, like, it could be one person even, right? And if, just to summarize what I'm hearing that you said, Mark, if they're running up to 20 tests, you are seeing the most reward. And the stat you gave me when we were talking before we came on here was you saw 56% on average ROI increase, which is pretty tremendous, because it sounds like when you say those tests, like how much time, if you're doing 20 tests in a month, how much time with Visually does someone dedicate, do you think, roughly? Do you have a rough estimate?
For sure. So our range, like when we're talking to a new brand in our universe, we mention a range of 6 to 20 tests per month.
Mm-hmm.
The 6 test per month range is the typical lean Shopify team, a few people wearing a bunch of hats.
Got it.
And they don't have any dedicated resource towards CRO. They're not using any fractional help from wonderful partners like Shero, and they are just going at it alone, right? So that kind of represents the 6. And then there's the ability to get from 6 into 10 and a little bit above that with fractional help.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just trying to wrap my brain around like how it's operating.
Yeah, and then the teams that are doing the 20 or 20 and above are the larger brands that have enough traffic to support that in the first place. So obviously a caveat. And they have proven CRO as like not just like as a channel for growth. It is literally a channel for growth. And therefore sometimes they have one dedicated resource. Sometimes they have 2 dedicated resources just internally pushing the program. So again, that range is basically 6 to 20. The 6 will get you in that place where you'll have enough wins to move the core metrics of the business. And then the 20 is really when you start to see transformational things happen.
I love that. And I love how you called it a channel. Like, people kind of miss that, like how you have to dedicate and focus to get the results, Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do also with, and I know we'll talk about roadmap, but a lot of the mindset conversation that we have as far as changing mindset also is that CRO A/B testing means you have something, whether it's in dev, design, content, backlog, and version A versus B, and which one works better. That is essentially not CRO. That is A/B testing.
Right.
But when it's its own channel, and you think about it as its own channel, and it has a hypothesis-led roadmap that's really centered in your customer. As again, I mean, we can probably wax poetically about that for a while, but all successful strategies have to do with really zeroing in and understanding our customers and cohorts better. And so when you think of it as that channel and not just, oh, let's throw some A/B testing at something in this backlog, but when it's its isolated channel, really thinking about it that way, has its own specific roadmap. You see the best results when that is a hypothesis-led roadmap that's really customer-centric.
No, I love that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Cande. You were going to say something.
No, I said that he nailed it.
Yeah. You're like, I couldn't have said it better.
Yes. No. Yeah.
We did talk about this a bunch, you know.
I'm sure. That's funny.
So talking about like experimentation and kind of leaning in, and like, again, to your point, A/B testing isn't exactly CRO, but like it's a piece of it, right? You have this idea of the CRO flywheel, Marc, at Visually. I think it might be helpful to kind of break that down. So like, if people are like trying to wrap their head around this, like, you know, we're putting the pieces together, like, okay, here's the team you have, how many, you know, tests you need to do, but like, what's the next step? What do they need to go through to think through like what they're going to do for their tests?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first place, you know, this is one of those corners of e-commerce that is about the data, right? And again, for so many brands, it starts with, we have a backlog of things coming out of dev and design, and we want to test version A, B, or C. And so I think part of this is really trying to identify, you know, look at the funnel and the performance on the site. How does that change per the major cohorts? Thinking in a very basic way, right? New versus return, men's versus women's versus kids. You know, some simple bifurcations of the cohorts to say, how are they all kind of flowing through the funnel? And where are the problems? Both where are the opportunities, where are the largest areas of friction, where are the largest areas of drop off? And then from there, you start to create a hypothesis-led roadmap. Because when you test something A versus B coming out of it, it's like the test is over, you found out A works better.
Right.
You're identifying these larger persistent problems in the brand. That's when you're forming the hypothesis, and that single hypothesis might survive, you know, 3 or 4 months of testing and different ways of kind of going around and trying to figure that out. So again, the best way to kind of, and this is also where, you know, we have wonderful strategic partners like Shero, that if the brand does not have that experience with that type of analysis and creating a hypothesis-led roadmap, you know, we have a wonderful network of folks who can help as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, amazing. And, you know, that obviously is a skill like that not everybody has, and like some people might have pushback on this, like we were just kind of maybe laughing, and maybe not in a good way, but like the developer in this group might be like, what the heck, right? So there might be pushback. So like, from your experience, do most companies embrace this because they understand they need to do it? Does it come from leadership? Like, where is the friction lie to not being successful here? Because obviously you're giving them the tools they need to like execute it, but like, where does it break down sometimes? Like, what do people need to think about to get ahead of it?
Yeah. I think that having as you were kind of saying, the flywheel, having alignment organizationally into what CRO is and is not, and the playbook, you know, like with anything in life, you kind of want to have a playbook before you hit the field and just scream win, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think having that alignment, I literally am on calls with people, introductory calls, where they're like, our CEO comes up with a lot of bad ideas and we want to do CRO to be and I'm like, I hear you. Like, it might be successful at that, but like, maybe I can help you in another way. Right? So I think having that alignment on, what, to be quite honest, and it's part of both the challenge and the gift of CRO and the Shopify ecosystem, right? Most folks don't really understand what CRO is. They're more familiar with the basic concept of A/B testing.
Yes.
AIIP, A1, we made a data-driven decision. It's out there in the wild now. Confetti flies, instead of thinking, what does it mean to have a learning culture, a testing and optimization culture, something where the muscle memory is everyone's used to just throwing stuff against the wall as quickly as possible. And one of the things I don't think we've mentioned, whether it's with segmentation, like agentic AI is specifically changing this, right? So
yeah, I was just going to ask that.
in the olden days, aka like a year ago, to fill in all the blanks, like if you wanted to do segmented experience, or if you wanted to scale your CRO program, and again, even in today, in the majority of other applications in market, you would equally have to scale the dev effort necessary to do that.
Right.
And then that's time and money and et cetera, right? So I think one of these is agentic AI gives the ability for that e-commerce generalist to get out of the gate quickly, fill in a lot of these. So if you're doing segmented experiences, a lot of brands had like reservations because they're like, oh, if we're going to create a new visitor experience and a repeat visitor experience, we're going to have to pay our agency or have our devs create and fill in all the. But now they're able to do that in lightning speed with agentic AI. So I think trying to get into scenarios where they can have a proof of concept. I think most of our brands know that they have to do some changing of mindsets internally, and they really focus on some kind of 3, 4, maybe 6 month proof of concept where they're able to go properly tooled with great tools, agentic AI, do the majority of the stuff on their own, and really, be able to sell that ROI story early. Hope I didn't ramble too much there.
No, you haven't. I think that I think I'm realizing I'm kind of like a pattern person because I'm going to call out a pattern that I heard you say. And I think a lot of it comes from, I don't think people know and understand their data. Period. Like, I think that nobody invests the time and data translates into segmentation, conversion rate, like anything, right? I'm talking in general. Is very few brands, at least on my side, that I talk to who fully can talk about their stores and performance in actual data, apart from like the 5 typical KPIs that a dashboard gives you. And to me, probably that's kind of like the biggest gap, and where the bridge comes into, like, do you actually spend time? To your point, conversion rate optimization is not running A/B tests. A huge part of it is understanding where are you looking for, like where you should be looking at, right? What numbers, what patterns, the personas, the different like customers. Like you said, it's not just about a new customer and a repeat customer. So I think that that's kind of like also the complexity of e-com. We're like drowned in data, and understanding where to focus is hard, and it takes time as well, right? With AI, maybe now it's becoming a little bit easier, and even Shopify has tools for you to just ask a question and get the data. But also a lot of times, at least what I see with our clients, hey, is my data reliable? A lot of people haven't even done the Google Analytics to GA4 switch properly still. You know what I'm saying? So I think that like the data portion, if you were talking stuck to me, because I was like, okay, but that's data. Okay, but that's understanding your data, right? Like data meaning customers, meaning all of these other things. So I don't know, that kind of like stuck to me.
Absolutely. And I think even there's so much that can be gained just from without having an analyst. Most brands don't have an analyst. That's what we found, right? And so, one of the things that we are thrilled, a little bit of like a lead up. I wasn't necessarily planning on chatting about it, but our next agentic AI release will be more of like a Claude-like question and answer experience with Visually to better understand for new visitors, where is the drop off, from these product pages X, Y, and Z. So there's the ability to get that data quickly, and to also have some contextualizing around that as well. All made for the non-analyst, because again, like they're, the majority of brands don't have a resident analyst on the team, and everyone is just busy. There's a lot more understood about their acquisition and retention channels, as I totally get it, right? But when it comes to these core things about their site, how it's performing and how it's performing,
they're clueless. I agree 100%.
Yeah, you're not clueless out there, everyone. You just need a little help.
Katie's very direct.
Sorry, I was a little bit too blunt. But there's tools that can help you. There you go. That was a plug.
Hey, Marc, actually, since you're talking about your next update, you have some really cool examples you were going to share around things that some of your customers have done with the agentic AI and just using AI with Visually. Do you want to bring those up and walk us through those? I think it might help connect some of the dots of what we're talking about to actually see them.
Yes, and we'll start with one of my favorite examples.
Sorry, do you want to just go into the slideshow mode so everybody can see it a little bit better?
Yes, absolutely.
Yay, thank you. Go for it.
And so I have been, for almost 10 years, I, was part of rebuild and redesign projects and the scoping of that, all the requirements of it, many product finder quizzes. I don't know about everyone in Shero, how often you've been involved in kind of custom product finder quiz projects. But there's a lot of kind of clunky and rigid solutions off the shelf. And then often brands are like, oh, this isn't exactly about our customer and our catalog. So
it's tough. It's a tough one to solve for.
It's a tough one to solve for, right?
I know. Been there.
One of the earlier comments that I mentioned was the ability for a brand to get a complex concept out in a single day, right? And how that changes the mindset of what is possible. Every brand, there's no shortage of good ideas. It's really about the bottlenecks that we've talked about a lot. So this is under Outfit, and they were able, with Visually's agentic AI widget builder, to create a multi-step product finder quiz. Just to mention a few dorky things, as the user is going through and clicking these different options in multi-step, it's sending that information to the product tag, to the customer tags. And then because Visually allows site segmentation off of those tags, the rest of the downstream experience on site can then be catered based on what they're doing here. So it's not just about landing them on a landing page because of this, but the scope of the data goes not even just to this session, but to the customer long term. All of this was, so again, usually it takes months to build custom. They got this out the door in a single day, from first prompt to out there in the wild collecting data. So that is fascinating to me. That's where I kind of this first where I was like, this is the owl was my, my spirit animal reaction. How in the world?
The wise owl.
That a brand is able to, and we've had several brands create complex experience where it's not just about how it looks, but because of our deep integration with Shopify, you can bring in third-party data into the mix of things of what you're creating and literally not bring devs into the mix at all. So that has certainly been transformative. And the last thing to mention, as far as the overall product cycle, it's not just about launching it and the speed to market for the feature, but the iteration cycle. Beth, you mentioned kind of that flywheel, right? It speeds up the flywheel because you're able to get data faster. And then when you have that data and you're ready to iterate, you're not sending that through another 2-week sprint or longer. You're going back to the agentic AI and you're launching the updated feature in a day or two. So the whole timeline kind of compresses there. So yes, this is definitely one of my favorite examples. I'll go to...
and also, Marc, sorry to interrupt. I feel like sometimes within a company, you need to do a lot of convincing, right?
Yeah.
you need to prove that what you think is like true, that is right. That's such an easy way to have those internal conversations and make things happen, like it could not be easier. Here it is,
Let's ship it and let's see. Stop the debate.
Right, exactly.
And let's see, right?
Ask for forgiveness later.
This is another thing as we gear up, and I'm sure as you're all helping your brands with thinking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and it's rapidly approaching. Full funnel experiences like early access, VIP, full funnel experiences. When you have agentic AI and a no-code editor, and you don't have to worry about breaking changes during code freeze and all these different things, you are able to bring folks in from email campaigns, put reminders for coupon codes, full funnel, and have these types of full funnel strategies coming in from either acquisition or retention channels done in minutes, single-handedly by non-technical. And we were talking about the democratization of CRO. So someone on the marketing team, someone on the retention team can say, okay, we've got these different campaigns going out for early access. I was thinking about a custom landing page, but what if I was able to go and change everything from navigation, cart, checkout, post-purchase, and I didn't have to open one dev ticket to do that, right? So definitely game-changing when it comes to full funnel promotional strategies. And then this is one of my favorites. It's just so simple. Segmentation. This is Faherty. They're creating a simple segmented experience for I might need agentic AI to help me with a slide. But this creates, so when a return visitor comes, this little icon appears in navigation. And then this drawer comes out with personalized navigation and also merchandising. And they built this in literal minutes. So again, it's showing up at work as someone on the e-commerce team for a brand and saying, I have an idea, and same day shipping that, no dev, no design, get it out there in the wild, see how it performs.
Well, it really empowers them and creates that really open environment of experimentation that we were talking about earlier, of like, it can't hurt to not try it, right? Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is just bringing in simple segmentation doesn't have to be this complex thing where you're doing a discovery on your data and your cohorts for 2 months, right? Like you have new visitors and you have loyal customers. You have men's versus women's and children. Like there's these simple bifurcations of your audience where go and experiment. Think about these different cohorts. How might they navigate and behave differently? What are their expectations differently on the site? And learn more about your customers through testing.
Yeah, absolutely. Great examples. I love them. I'm sure you have so many more, but these are just a little tease and taste for what you can do with visually, right, Marc?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm not sure how up to date you are on the Shopify. Obviously they just released a lot of updates, but they have this whole dashboard around AI agents that you can now measure in the Shopify backend. How do you see that impacting the tests that people are doing? Like, are they thinking about like, how will an agent interpret this? Like, when we're thinking about AEO, we're seeing that a lot of the content isn't really set up properly in some cases on some websites. So like when you're thinking about CRO and A/B testing, is this starting to shift where people are thinking, well, how will AI think about it and view it and like experience it? Or is that not quite a thing yet? Just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is like an exciting time, being in the industry for 22 years, there's been different cycles, so to speak, of transformation.
Yeah.
Everything kind of transforms rapidly. And the difference between conversations 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and now is actually pretty stark. It's impressive. There are brands that have moved forward that have a real, what I would say, e-commerce enterprise-wide AI plan and map. And then there are other folks who, still think of it as like a magic wand that's going to be waved over.
Okay, it's a mixed bag still.
But I would say the adoption and sophistication is rapid. And so, yeah, I think like it's exciting because even for ourselves, when we look at our roadmap and what we're doing in 3 months and in 6 months and in
Yeah, same here.
that pace has just totally transformed. So we see that on the brand side, on our side, for our partners, it is that's what AI allows us to do, to just move at a completely different type of pace.
Here, here, we're all feeling it. Everyone feels it, sees it, dealing with it, so nothing can make it better.
Yeah, globally and data centers, we don't know about the whole, but in e-commerce, it is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been so great to hear what you're doing at Visually. To wrap up, Marc, are there any final thoughts or takeaways you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I would say that, for us, one of the things that, many of our partners have different types of incentive programs as well. This is a thing about mindset change. It's something about thinking about that, like, what is my maxed cost exposure to create an internal business case around this, right? To go full bore and be like, we're gonna just do this is a new channel for us, like, done. That's a little bit harder. I think thinking about, what is my max cost exposure over, a 3 or 4 month period in order to prove this out. And when you look at how much money is being dumped into acquisition marketing, it's really pennies. And so I think if instead of for us, we don't have annual contracts, at will relationship. Through our partnership with Shero, we have a 30-day free trial, which allows brands to come in and take a little bit of that pressure off, and have some breathing room to think about how can I create this kind of proof of concept. And so, that's a little bit more attainable, I think, than how do we do, enterprise grade CRO, and what does that mean? And hypothesis led, I don't even know what Marc's talking about, right? But just start out, you can prove this in a few months and with little investment. So I think that's probably.
I love that. I think any way you can break it down and make it smaller bits that feel achievable is like a win, right? And thank you so much for offering the 30-day trial to our guests that have joined here today. And Shero will also offer a complimentary CRO audit to accompany that, and we'll work with you to make sure you're successful with Visually and set up to see those wins that we've been talking about. So feel free to reach out to us if you're interested in that. And then Cande, do you have any final thoughts before we move to Q&A?
No, I think we covered a lot. I think I would like to double down of the idea of is a change of mindset, is a different way of like running your store. Like, again, a physical store never looks the same, and I think that like your online store should always have something being tested to optimize experience, to make the most out of every visitor. Like Marc said, you spend a lot of money on PPC, right? Bringing new blood in. You want to make sure that people are converting at their highest rate. So to me, it's a no-brainer when you need to prove ROAS. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, we have some questions here. Cande, how do we prove ROI of CRO to our CFO or leadership?
I wonder. Of CRO to a CFO. Okay, let me think. I think numbers speak like for themselves, right? Like to Marc's point, a CRO retainer does not break the bank. Okay, spending a lot of money on PPC that does not convert does break the bank, and that has like so much of a runway, right? How do you prove it? You prove it by changing your mindset and making sure that you have a solid roadmap of testing and you understand where moving the needle comes from, right? That's where the ROI on CRO lives, and is all about the numbers as well, right? Marc have shared a couple of also ideas on how to prove a concept, right? So to me, that already kind of like talks about return on investment. Hopefully that answers the question. But yeah, to me, it's just like, how do we prove it? Run tests, improve your conversion
Try.
rate.
Yeah.
Numbers are going to speak for themselves, but also, again, to Mark's point, I want to double down on that. CRO is not just about running tests, it's about changing your mindset. It's an ongoing exercise, is understanding your data. So yeah, hopefully that was a helpful answer.
I love all that. And only one thing that I would add, Cande, is that the
Go for it.
beauty of testing is that you basically, it's a very, at the end of the conveyor belt, there's very clean data to basically say, here is the control, here what was, and now here is what
It's a
changed,
result.
and the lift of that. And that is actually not easy per all channels. It's a little bit more complex, and I think within CRO it's easier. So I think letting that CFO know, right, that this is not right. Like, we're going to bring you data that literally shows lift from what we changed to the control of what we did not change, and it's going to be the easiest thing for you to look and understand.
Reliable data. I always say, I don't want to extend this, but when people ask me, I'm a very kind of like organic, diverse marketing leader. And when people ask me, what's your favorite marketing channel? I respond CRO, because it's the only channel where I fully trust the data.
That's valid. Yeah. Okay, Mark, I don't feel we're ready to take this project on yet. What you say to leadership to persuade the investment, or we already have an A/B testing tool? What would we need? Something different?
Yeah. There are a few. I'll try and chip away. There are a few questions there, right?
Tough one.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the readiness for that CRO, project, that is something, again, I think what I mentioned before, right? Don't think about a long-term commitment and trying to go back to the C-suite and say that we're asking for this long-term commitment. Think of it as a trial, a max cost exposure. Go to them and say, the max cost exposure will be X. We're going to figure out, here, this is the ROI we're looking for in this. And literally, we will know in 3 to 4 months, and that will unlock. So I think it's the phrasing of that, how that's positioned, rather than, I'm so excited about this, we need budget, it needs to be a line item for the rest of the year. We would love that, go, that would be great. But I think that there's a way of chipping away at that. And I think if they already have an A/B testing tool, just quickly, our way, we've now just spoken to thousands of brands on platforms, both native to Shopify and non-native. Again, less than 1% are doing over 6 tests per month.
Right.
And so our way is just like, you might be doing A/B testing, but are you doing CRO, and what does that really mean? And are you doing the proper velocity? And so if it comes to them using, and usually brands come to us graduating, they've tried other tools, they're stuck in 2 to 3, because at 2 to 3, they will not be able to go quarter by quarter back up the chain and say, look, here are our gains of the major metrics of our business. 2 to 3 tests will not allow them to accomplish that. They'll go with learnings, and they'll say, here's what we learned, and here's what we learned. And that's important. Learning is important. So I think that's how we kind of drill in. We say, how many tests are you doing per month? And we kind of chat a little bit more about the details of the difference between just doing A/B testing and CRO.
Well, and I think the other thing, just to add, and then I think we're almost out of time here, is if you have an A/B testing tool and they're not aggressively adding features like you are at Visually, any tech you pick that's like kind of stagnant is going to be a problem, right? So just make sure you align with a partner that's trying to grow. Okay, one more question. How do we know what to test first? Good question. So I think obviously you need to understand your ICP and where some of the friction lies, or even maybe something that you thought might be creative and you want to try it out. Using a tool like Visually, you saw really advanced features done in a day. No brainer to go give it a go and get some data and learn. That would be my suggestion. I don't know, Mark or Candy, any other thoughts?
I would say run an audit. Data will dictate what to test first.
That's true. An audit is good
There's
too.
no
Yeah.
great answer, in my opinion, to that. You first need to understand what's happening across all your homepage, your PDP, your checkout process to determine what to test.
The flow. Yeah.
I would agree with both of those, but there's one
Go for it.
freebie. There's one freebie that we usually mention, which is, when you're able to do segmentation, you can do like just something that will work for almost every brand, auto application or coupon code reminders coming from retention channels. It's not a big deal, but if it starts the dope, it's almost like guaranteed dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Love
it.
Auto apply that coupon code, do it, and then get addicted to the dopamine.
I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Candy. Obviously, there's so much more we could talk about, but hopefully that fills your need to understand CRO more and what your next steps can be with Visually. Please reach out if you're interested in our offer of helping you out. And just a quick couple of announcements. We have the .digital event in the UK coming up at the beginning of July, and Gavin from our team is going to be talking about AI there. So we're super excited about that. We will be at the Shopify event in Toronto. So that's a big one we're all excited about. And we also have some internships going on this summer. Specifically, we have one intern in the US in our office here, and we're super excited to have Brian join our team. So yeah, I think that's a wrap. I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.